As a YouTube artist, there are times where I get to look at a very unique, almost niche medium, something I've never done before, didn't know exist. Like the time I took a look at kneaded graphite, watercolor graphite, Black 3.0, lit, and many more on the channel. But this one's a little special, as I think this has a lot more potential than really any of those other mediums, and that being liquid charcoal. I'm super excited for this episode, so let's go ahead and roll that intro and do our deep dive. What's up guys, I'm J-Rod of BATTLEBrawlerproductions and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we craft amazing comic book style illustrations through a variety of different mediums. And as I mentioned in the intro, we are taking a look at the Nitram Fusion Liquid Charcoal. Very unique and interesting art supply. I can definitely say I've never seen anything quite like this before. I saw it at my job and I was like, I have to try this. This just looked super fun and unique. Now, I've seen this item sell for a variety of prices online. I've seen it sell for as little as $20.99 all the way up to $32.99. And at my shop that I work at, I do sell this for $26.99, at least at the time of recording this video. I also want to mention that I did get my employee discount, but I'm not going to factor that in because I don't want it to sway my opinion on this product. Just because I got it cheaper, I don't want you guys to think that I'm going to let that affect my opinion. So just want to be transparent. Either way, I am super excited to do our deep dive because there's not a lot of information on the packaging. We do see a picture of the tube, we do see a picture of the liquid charcoal, it does say to paint with charcoal, we get a full list of ingredients, we also see that it's water solvent, but is it more on the opaque side like a gouache? Is it more on the transparent side like watercolor? I'm very excited to see what exactly this product is because this just looks like a super fun thing to mess with. It may be a little gimmicky, it may be a little niche, yes, but I really think this could be something special. So let's go ahead and do our deep dive by breaking out our watercolor sketchbook. You could really see that it came out really chunky and just kind of uneven. Now I do have straight from the tube here and some water mixed in. I'm really curious to see how this is going to play, feel, and just kind of what is its natural state. And then since water solvent we have already mixed in the water like I mentioned. This is cold pressed watercolor paper, so it should be pretty good to test. So let's go ahead and grab just like a good part of it and let's go ahead and start rolling. And oh, okay. Okay, I like this. First off, first impressions, it's pretty dark. It's not super dark. Like charcoal is known for being very dark. You can see streaks here and there. I can kind of go in and hide those streaks very easily, but it definitely gives me a gouache feel. This feels like gouache where it's very creamy. It's got a good consistency. We're able to really go around and push this around. And of course we can add water to it. So definitely giving me some gouache vibes. In fact, here's my brush dipped in a lot of water, just kind of going in and it's going to reactivate and blend it a little bit more, just to kind of move it around. We are introducing essentially white into it because when you work with these water solvent mediums, you gotta view water as if you were adding white in your paints. It's very creamy, it feels very nice, and it looks cool. It does look like charcoal. At first glance, I probably would think this is just like a dark gouache paint rather than liquid charcoal, but it does look like charcoal. I just kind of wish you would give me that stronger, more intense black because that's really what charcoal is known for. It's blendable, it's super soft, very easy to blend. You get these beautiful dark rich tones and it's really good for realism. While this here, I'm just kind of playing with it. It's definitely giving me more of that cream kind of feel. It's giving me a dark tone, definitely something I really like, but I'm kind of looking at it and thinking I could probably get a similar effect with normal black gouache. Normally black gouache isn't this dark though, so there's that, but still it does feel nice. It feels very smooth, very creamy. I really like that. I'm gonna try it real quick with this right here, which is the paint added with some water, to see how that's gonna look. So let's go ahead and put that down. And ooh, okay. When you start to add water, I get more of that graphite charcoal feel. Like this looks like graphite, liquid charcoal, opposed to just a dark black gouache. So that's really cool. Now I have a question. When this dries, can I go in and blend it out like I can with normal charcoal? Can I erase it like normal charcoal? That's one thing I'm kind of curious about. When we took a look at the watercolor graphite a couple years ago, I found that it was really cool and unique, and it did look like graphite, but it wasn't erasable and it wasn't blendable. So at the end of the day, that piece left me thinking, you know, that's really cool, that's really unique, but outside of that, I kind of felt like it needed to do something extra. This definitely is doing a little bit more than that. You know, we have the ability to go super opaque. Look at how dark these values are. These are absolutely amazing. I really, really like these values. I think this would also work really well with a mixed media brush. This is a watercolor brush, but it definitely is adding to it. If it's also blendable, if it's also erasable, that would be the icing on the cake, but I really, really like it straight off the bat. Let's go ahead and now compare it to some normal charcoal. So I actually just realized I don't have any normal charcoal because I ended up throwing it away in my move, but I do have some charcoal pencils, so let's go ahead and compare those. The first one we'll test are these Lyra Germany charcoal pencils, and they're not the darkest, but they definitely have a good variety of tones, so I'll just pick one to test. So the black soft is pretty comparable to our straight with no water added, while the black hard is pretty comparable to the water added version. So that's pretty cool. I really like how with charcoal you get these really beautiful dark tones, and we're able to get something similar with the liquid charcoal. Now if we were to go in and add water and then mix it in here, we can smooth it out and just get more of an even tone and layer it, which is really nice. Kind of similar a little bit to the pencils. I bring that up because with the pencils you have a lot more control. It's easier to pick up, it's a little more intuitive. If you've had a lot of practice with a brush, you can do the same thing. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. So I do want to just point that out. I know someone will say, oh, it's easier, it's more control than a pencil. Well, yeah, but you're definitely going to have struggle when it comes to using it in a large area. And with enough practice, you can get really detailed and really precise with a brush. So that's a pretty good comparison. Let's compare it to one of my favorite pencils of all time, the Blackwing Matte. Now the Blackwing is not straight charcoal, it's actually a charcoal and graphite mix and has the equivalent of a 3B hardness. And yeah, it's pretty comparable to In the Middle, where it's a little darker than this, but it's not as dark as this one here. So that's pretty cool. Again, it's something where I can definitely see a lot of really cool uses for this. And unlike the watercolor graphite, it is kind of adding a little bit more. We're getting a lot more values, we're getting a lot more darkness, we're getting a lot more tones, we're able to layer just a little bit more because we can go easily into the absolute by adding so much down and then thinning it out. It's really, really nice. In fact, if this was like a water solvent charcoal, I think that would be really, really cool. But coming straight from the tube, it just is, in my opinion, making it a lot more versatile than the other kind of gimmicky, more niche mediums we've looked at. I really, really like the feel of this. I love how creamy it is. We could go in and we can now kind of blend this out by thinning it and creating these gradients, something that we can't do with the other charcoals. So that's kind of why it makes me think like a water solvent charcoal would be a really cool addition to this. I don't know, my brain's just kind of spitting out ideas. I think that'd be really interesting. But I do like what we're getting in our tests. I do like what we can do. I really want to see if this blends, so I will let this dry so that we can do a proper eraser and blend test. Something I kind of want to try, just kind of pour a little bit out onto the paper, just like that. And this is a pretty good size tube, by the way, like 50 milliliters. This is pretty big compared to my other gouache and watercolor tubes. Like this is probably small if you're used to using acrylic tubes. And I'm gonna go in and just add a little bit of water. There we go. So we got a pretty solid, good black. Now I'm gonna let that dry real quick, and we're gonna go and make a quick little mark right here. Just kind of do just a couple little brush strokes, nothing too fancy. And let's say I really don't like how this looks. I don't like how this is right here in the corner. I don't like how that's there. How easy does this lift up? If we made a mistake like that, water to our napkin, and let's pick it up. Not the easiest to pick up. I wonder if I could just use my fixer-upper to try and pick it up. Okay. It's pretty easy. So if you do make a mistake, you can at least fix it a little bit without having to break out the industrial white gouache to fix everything. I swear, if you guys make a mistake with any medium, white gouache is just the way to fix it. Like, it fixes watercolor and ink works so well. So there's that test, and the last one I want to see is how well this compares to a gouache. So this is a Utrecht primary red gouache. I'm just going to put a little bit of that down on the palette, and then we will see how these two play together. Ooh, that was super liquidy. I was not expecting that. All right, let's see how this compares, or at least kind of plays with. So putting down the red gouache, again, it has that creamy feel that this gave me, so that's why I instantly thought of gouache. But now I'm gonna just put a little bit of it over and see how that goes. Yeah, layers really well. We could see that as a base, it has darkened it because we are thinning out our gouache with a little bit of the water. And now if we build it up, we can see the red is going over it perfectly. And if I was to hit this with more liquid, more water, it would start to blend the two together. That looks actually really nice in person. Like, I actually really like how that looks. It's a really nice dark red. In fact, let's go ahead and blend the two together just straight off the bat. I want to see that. So let's go ahead and start to blend these. They blend well. They are mixing together pretty nicely. Creates a really good red. It kind of makes me think of like a little bit of like a raw muscle almost, especially with like the little hints of black. I really like that. So these layer pretty well together. We go over here, we're gonna add just a little bit of that red, and again, it's layering really well, so I really like that. Again, this really makes me think of gouache. This specific liquid charcoal feels like gouache, it's behaving like gouache, and with other gouaches, it's working well together, so I really like that. I was tempted, very tempted to just kind of be like, you know what, let's save that for the illustration, but no, I think it's better to test it. I'm glad we did, because yeah, this looks really nice. I really like this. In fact, let's go ahead and do a swatch of red gouache right here. So we'll just put a good amount of that down on the page, and then we'll go over it with the liquid charcoal to see how that layers on top. Since we did a red on black, let's do a black on red. After using my heat gun to speed things up, it's pretty much 100% dry. There's a couple little wet spots here, but I think it's good enough for us to test the erasability on it. Now again, if it doesn't erase with the knead eraser, I think it will be fine. It'll just be like a nice extra thing. And yeah, it is not erasable. See, I'm not too broken up about this, because again, comparing it to our water graphite that we looked at, that I felt like it needed it. I felt like it needed to be erasable because it was just offering a slightly different variation of a black watercolor. While this is offering a lot more than that, so it would have been a nice extra. I just kind of want to explain my thought process there. Let's go ahead and see how this layers with the normal gouache under it. So we'll get a good little dip of that, and we'll put it right here over the red, and yeah, that layers really nice on top of that. Like, look at that. That's going down super nice and well. We're able to really go in and apply it. We can even go in and thin it out, which is super nice. It's just layering very well. Again, this is essentially a super dark black gouache, so I really appreciate that we're able to go in and get those solid black tones, which is really nice. It's just definitely one of the things you have to take time to make sure that it's consistent and you're getting all the little nooks and crannies. But yeah, that layered really well. If we were to let this dry, we can go over it again and blend the two. In fact, we can do that right here. Just add our water and go like crazy, and we can blend these together to get a nice dark red that we can really spread out, really thin down, and play with. I really like this. I think this is super cool. So let's go ahead and get into today's illustration, because I think this is going to be a really fun one to explore. Today's illustration is a little special, as I purchased a watercolor block for it, and we're going to be illustrating Wrath. I think it's going to be a fun atmospheric piece that's really going to take advantage of the dark charcoal medium in a way that I think will be really fun. So let's go ahead and roll that super time lapse. When it came to making this piece, this was an incredibly enjoyable and fun process, and I absolutely love this liquid charcoal. I knew I was going to enjoy it, but I really didn't realize how much I was going to love it. And for one, we're going to start from the beginning. Now, I will admit, because this stuff is basically a super dark charcoal colored gouache, I should have used hot pressed watercolor paper, but I decided to use cold pressed watercolor paper, which is fine. The 100% content absorbs the colors to help make everything pop. Just traditionally with gouache, you want to use hot pressed paper. It tends to perform better, but I watered it down a lot to take advantage of its layering capabilities, so using the hot press wasn't a total waste, just something I wanted to mention. I also decided to do some line art to solidify the pencils so that I could go in and color more and have a little more direction. Now, normally I would do this with my dip pen, but today I decided to change it up and do it with my script brush. The reason I did that was to get more loose, more organic line width and just kind of practice the technique. It's something I really like to do. And with this stuff being so thick, I knew that if I made a mistake, I could easily cover it with this and the gouache that I would use to do the coloring. After waiting for the ink to dry, I then added a bunch of water to my palette with a little bit of this stuff in it, so I got something very light that I could go in and do a quick wash, just applying it heavily onto the paper. Afterwards, I added a little bit more paint into my palette and then went in building up the layers slowly. I could have taken a lot more time doing this because it was super fun, very enjoyable, very intuitive, very straightforward. It felt super fun, easy to do. Now, I will be honest, I do paint with gouache quite a bit. I'm an inker, I work in ink, I work in a lot of liquid mediums, so for me, this felt very natural, very intuitive. For others who are used to more thicker, heavy body materials, this may be a little alienating, this may be a little difficult. For me, as someone who does paint with gouache, this literally just fit right in for me. I was really shocked by how quickly I can build up these layers because it got really dark, and that's one thing I love about it, is that like charcoal, you can get these solid, strong, amazing, solid blacks into your artwork, and you can also blend them. While this didn't blend the same way a real charcoal stick would, I could still get very smooth blends. I get a solid, rich, deep black. It was very, very fun and very nice. It's a lot darker than actually a lot of the other black gouaches I have in my collection, so that was really cool. I really like these intense dark tones. shades. After I applied all the DACHSHUNDs, which again was super easy to do, it was super creamy, very fun, it had the consistency of gouache, and that's the thing about this that I want to point out, is that the gouache comparison, it's basically gouache, and it was all about water to paint ratio, just like gouache. When I added a lot of water to this, it was basically a clear watercolor. When I had less water but more paint, it acted more like an acrylic, so it had that gouache vibe right there, and that's why I'm bringing up gouache so much, because this feels like a gouache product. But after I got all of the liquid charcoal down on the page, I then decided to mix up some Utrecht and Winsor Newton gouache and just did some light red coloring. Since I started with a wash, I just put the gouache on top of it, and it helped to give everything that slightly darker tone to unify everything. And then I just went in with white gouache to touch up the highlights to really make them pop. Overall, this piece didn't take that long, and that's mainly because I didn't have a lot of time to commit to this piece. I did have some other projects that did call for my attention this week, but I really could have spent a lot of time in this because it was so fun, super intuitive. If you're used to gouache or watercolor, this is going to be a product that you're just going to love and enjoy using. And that's really the best way I can describe this, is don't view it as a liquid charcoal. View this as a super dark gouache that's colored like charcoal. And if you view it like that, if you go in with that mentality, I really think you're going to enjoy this product. I think you're really in for a treat. I think this is really something special. I really like this thing. I'm definitely going to be incorporating it more into my artwork, especially my gouache work. But that is everything I have to say for the time lapse. Let's go ahead and see the piece in all its finished glory, and I can give it its very high rating that you're already expecting it's going to get. And we're done, and guys, I absolutely love how this piece came out. Easily in one of my top 10 favorite pieces of the year. This was a super fun, very enjoyable piece to do. I wish I could have committed a little bit more time to it, but it still looks amazing. And if you guys like it, not only is it available for a $1 digital download on my ArtStation account, link in the description down below, where you can purchase other digital downloads that I have of my artwork, coloring pages, and a couple other little things here and there. But you will also be able to get this as a poster. That's right, ArtStation makes posters of my artwork. It's a great way to help the channel, and you get an amazing piece of art that you can hang in your home. But enough of the artwork itself, let's go ahead and wrap up my thoughts on this amazing product. As you can tell from this video, I really like this product. It really impressed me. It was super fun, super enjoyable. It was a very nice product to use, and I'm not going to call this a gimmick or a niche product. I think this is a genuine, really good art product. This is not a niche thing. However, I don't think this is for everyone. If you're someone who does a lot of dry mediums, this isn't for you. If you're someone who does a lot of watercolor and gouache, on the other hand, this is perfect for you. And really, despite it saying liquid charcoal, I think the best way to view this product is this just happens to be a super dark gouache that has the coloring of charcoal. View it as that, and you're going to really appreciate this product. You're going to see the benefits of it. You're going to see what you can do with it. If you approach it with that mentality, you are in for a treat, because I really like this, and I do a lot of gouache work, I do a lot of ink work. This really impressed me. While you can get really dark gouache, this just hits differently. It hits that charcoal part of my brain that I really like, and while yes, it isn't blendable like dry charcoal, that's not the point of this. Unlike the graphite watercolor that I keep bringing up, because that one I felt like it didn't do enough on its own, and that felt very gimmicky, this does enough where I feel like that's not the case. I feel like this does enough on its own that while it would be nice to have that feature, I'm okay with it not having that. You can still do the other techniques with it. It does more. I really enjoy this. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 on my scale 1 to 10. The only thing hurting it really, in my opinion, is that you have to double check when you purchase these, mainly because there were a couple batches that the company released where either the glue wasn't properly done or the tube itself had too much pressure in it because the bottoms were bursting. In fact, the first one that I bought, it had that problem, and I had to return to get a new one. So that is just one thing that kind of does suck about it. But again, I cannot recommend this product enough. I cannot recommend this liquid charcoal enough. Seriously, guys, treat yourself and definitely pick it up because it is worth every penny. There are plenty of gouaches that I have paid over $35 for that were not even half the size of this, and it's definitely worth the money. But that's my opinion, and I'd love to hear your guys in the comment section down below. Please let me know what you think of the piece itself, what I could have done to improve it. Your guys' feedback really helps me become a better artist and a content creator, and also what you think of the liquid charcoal. You know, do you like it? Do you hate it? Did you agree with me? I always love to hear your guys' opinions in the comment section down below. But thank you all so much for watching. Again, we have posters available on our ArtStation account, and subscribe to the channel for more art and animation-based content. Remember, I'm J. Rod at BLACKEST. I draw power in my own soul. Thank you all so much for watching.